Hi, everybody. Oops. Starting. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Um, I'm glad you're catching up with me and this thing that I expect to get good at, right? Eventually, it'll take a little while. Um, and thank you for questions that were sent in, and we'll be asking for more questions. And so if you don't get your question asked the week of, it still could get answered in the following week. So I really want to know what you want to know. And if you're wondering, did I get a haircut? No, what you're witnessing is the absence of a haircut. And I wonder for how many people um, interesting, funny hairdos are going to show up during this period of time, and will we look back and be able to tell, oh, that was then, kind of like the 70s, you know? But really, really glad to be here with you. And I'm going to start with a question that Alexi posted. No, Alexley. I don't know if I'm saying that right. She wrote, I'm ready to move in together with my partner, but he says he's not ready yet. What do I do? So, first of all, I welcome ordinary relationship, dating, marriage, how to understand yourself questions. I welcome them. Like many, have spent a lot of time talking about the repercussions of the coronavirus, and it's thrilling to not talk about it. So I'll pretend I didn't mention it, okay? And just get to it. So, a couple things about this. One is that whenever a man says he's not ready for something, the first thing to watch out for is that we tend to take that personally. And this goes back to how we relate to most things that men do. We think that how they behave towards us is dependent upon how they feel about us. So if there's something that they're not doing, for example, that we expect, we'll think if he loved me more, he would do that. Or in a different context, if he respected me more, he would do that. Or even if he cared about me more, then he would do that. So we tend to, as women, naturally associate a man's actions with his feelings. And that if he felt the right way about us, he would act the right way towards us. And then that puts us into a kind of downward spiral of trying to fix how he feels about us so that his behavior will naturally be fixed. This is normal. This is normal for women to do. Except when we decide that there's nothing wrong with how he feels about me, there's just something wrong with him. And then we have a different set of strategies, but we're going to leave that for now. Um, so mostly we take things personally, and especially when a man says he's not ready to, like he's not ready to move in, he's not ready to go from dating to be a boyfriend, he's not ready to become engaged or married, he's not ready to get married, he's not ready to buy a house, he's not ready to have a child, he's not ready to talk about retirement. Anything after I'm not ready, the danger is always that we'll take it personally. And don't get me wrong, there are so many things we should take personally. Many of you know my research began in 1991 with the question, what if men are responding to women? Because I mostly just thought men were jerks. I really did. I just thought, yeah, they're just jerks. It it didn't dawn on me that I might have something to do with the way that men interacted with me. So when that was suggested to me, by way of calling my friend a frog farmer, uh, I got really excited, really curious that maybe I had something to do with the way men treated me. And I started with the question, what if men are responding to women? And found out all these ways that men are responding to women. Just incredible the things that they're responding to. And especially how perceptive they are. And I mean incredible, as not credible, as unbelievable to most women, unless you pay really close attention. And that's what understanding men is for, by the way, to make it credible, to have you actually believe what you're seeing. And because they believe what they're seeing and they're incredibly perceptive. So, whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of ways that men are responding to so many things about a woman, from the way that she walks to the way she talks to the energy she gives off to how she treats herself, her children, her pets, her community. I mean, so many things they are paying attention to that we don't realize they are. And in this area of being ready to move in together, being ready to anything, that is one of the times, and there are many, but this is one of the most significant times when a man is rarely, if ever, responding to a woman. So, ready to do anything doesn't have to do with his feelings towards someone. Ready has to do with where he's situated with himself and his life. This is actually good news, and this will give you the answer to your question of what do you do, right? Because there's a question you can ask, and if you're safe enough for him to answer the question, and I mean safe enough as in he trusts that you're not going to use the answer against him, that it's a legitimate curiosity, it's a legitimate caring question. If you're safe enough, you can ask this question if you understand that it doesn't have to do with you or his feelings towards you. It has to do with himself. So when a man says, I'm not ready to, so in this case, I'm not ready to move in yet, then, oh, okay, he's not ready to move in yet. Okay, first notice if you think he's wrong to not be ready to move in yet. If you think he's wrong and he should be ready, then I wouldn't even proceed until you work your way around that, because it's not going to go well. But if you're willing to grant as valid that he's not ready to move in yet, if you're willing to provide that, one second, I'm just going to fix this here. If you're willing to accept that of course he has a good reason for that. It's a little hard to do sometimes, but if you're willing to accept that, okay, he has a good reason for that. All right, okay, of course, that's legit. You're not ready to do that yet. And interesting if he actually said yet, right? I'm not ready yet. That, it sounds like the yet indicates it's something you've thought about doing or you can see yourself doing, or I know we've talked about it before and it's something you both want to do. So what do you need? What do you need to be ready for that? What do you need to have accomplished in order, or be certain about in order to be ready for that? And then, as always, right, the imaginary duct tape, put it over your mouth, or, we have imaginary, it's not even imaginary, we have real shipping tape right here. Put it over your mouth and listen. And just listen to what he's revealing, listen to what he's sharing with you. It's important. He's telling you a lot about himself and his process. And if you're moving in with the intention of some kind of long-term commitment in your relationship, then this is a process he's likely to go through again and again and again, depending on how many months or years you are together. And so there's a lot to learn about readiness. And the readiness can fall into different categories, right? It can be readiness in what he believes living together he ought to be able to provide, like what's his end of the deal. Or readiness in terms of that he's got certain things nailed down, he's clear about certain things, there's certainties in different parts of his life. It could also be things that he thinks he should have done first, like things in his life that he should have experienced before he takes the step of moving in together. And this brings up an important concept to get curious about for any kind of readiness, and that is how much men interact with forms, if you will, like living together being a form, being engaged being a form, being married being a form, that they interact with them from the point of view of accountability, count-onability. So if they were going to take that on, what does it mean they would be accountable for? And therefore, they would want to know about themselves that they are count-onable for being able to provide that or produce that or be reliable for that. Can you see how big it is? It's so big and worth listening to, worth paying attention to, worth learning about, because this is going to have everything to do with his values. And honestly, if I had asked my son's father what he thought being married meant and what it meant he would be accountable for, or it would be his job to provide, if I had known to ask that question and listen, well, our son would never have existed, which we've agreed it's good that he does. In fact, it was worth 7 years of misery. But if I'd asked the question, it would have revealed so much about what he was committing to and how different it was than what I was committing to. And so this is Alex Lee, I think is how I say your name. This is a treasure hunt. This is a treasure hunt of finding out where you're aligned and where you're not aligned. And been talking to people lately about our extraordinary relationship intensive that begins June 6th. And so much of that intensive is putting into the foundation the things that people didn't make sure were in the foundation of their relationships when they committed to them, because they thought love was enough. They thought love was enough and commitment was enough. We love each other and we're committed to each other, so let's go. It's just not the truth. There are so many other things that are required in order for it to turn out well. So if you settle yourself in, there's nothing wrong with that he's not ready, and find out what does he need to be ready, and listen for his values in that, like we teach in Understanding Men, Listening to Learn, you will be so much better off in every way. In every way, even if what you find out is that him being ready to him seems years away, then at least you know how it is for him, instead of living in some kind of hope, that it's days or months away when it's different, or however that varies for the two. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm still not any good at doing short answers, and I don't have an ambition to do that, but we still have the plan for me to provide some noble healing before I have to go, and I'm going to be jumping off early because our Being Extraordinary intensive begins tonight. But I'll be back next week, and meanwhile, I'll see what have you got here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to learn a lickety. Hi, Gal. Hi, Fallon. Hi, Kat. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Nicole. Mom bun always. Yes, thank you for my mom bun. But you know what's worse, Fallon, than the mom bun is that my secret pleasure isn't what it normally is. I mean, normally I have a boy at the back of my neck, and it keeps my head really cool. But see, look, my boy cut is all. Can't believe I'm showing you guys this. Why would I show you this? Yeah, that's the biggest frustration for me. I don't have the shaved part. I missed that. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I have a mom bun with a whatever you call those things. Hi, Diana and Nessa and Renee, yay, Colorado, and Andy. I need to know, are there any men out there that are not narcissists? What a great question, Anne Marie. Well, if the answer is no, there are not any men out there who are not narcissists, then it's also true. There are not any women out there who are not narcissists. Now that may sound terrible. But when narcissism showed up as the new popular thing to accuse men of, I went and looked it up, including the study on narcissism, and what these psychologists had aligned upon were the symptoms of narcissism. Except for, of course, I read them from the point of view of almost 30 years of paying attention to human behavior and male-female behavior, and what appears to be instinctual and what is a conscious choice. And virtually everything we teach in our Understanding Women course could have a woman accused of being a narcissist. And every behavior that we unravel and make sense of in our Understanding Men course are behaviors that could have every man be accused of being a narcissist. So, are there men who are not narcissists? Yes. Most men are not narcissists. Will they appear to be narcissistic to a woman who's comparing their behavior to what a perfect woman would do? Absolutely. They're going to appear narcissistic. And as long as we interact with them as narcissistic and can't tell the difference between truly narcissistic and the appearance of narcissistic, we're going to label them, we're going to dismiss them, we're going to treat them poorly, and their behavior is actually going to confirm our conclusion. But what if we're wrong? What if the motivation that we apply to their behavior is taking a woman's motivation and applying it to a man and drawing an incorrect conclusion? What if, when we understand men and what motivates them to do what they do? Whew, oh my gosh, amazing, amazing. And when you can distinguish between true narcissism and the rest of what's happening, oh my gosh, everything changes. So this is up to the minute. I did an interview just last week about this, about narcissism and toxic relationships, and how to tell that a relationship is toxic, how to tell that it's gonna be toxic because you're set up for that, and how to tell the difference between toxic and not toxic. Like, it might seem that it is, but it's not. And if you want to be invited to watch that interview, you need to get on our mailing list. So you'd have to go to understandmen.com and get on our mailing list. And then you'll get the notice that goes out on Sunday for the interview that is being broadcast on Monday from Andy Anderson. But it's a really big topic, and it's an important topic. And if all men seem like narcissists to you, there's a very good chance, with few exceptions, the wonderful men, then you're judging men by a standard and a lens that not only will have you misunderstand them and misinterpret them, but you'll be rendered completely unable to get what you need from them. When, if you understand what truly motivates and inspires a man, it's easy to get what you need. It's really easy to get what you need from them. It's not simple because they're more complex than they think, but it is easy. Okay, so that was my alarm, which I know is annoying, but it sets me up to be able to give you something that I've most wanted to provide. Actually was what motivated me to take on doing this, is the chance to provide this. And if you're not familiar, it's called Noble Healing. And Noble Healing is an extension of that human impulse when something bad happens to someone, to just say, I'm so sorry that happened to you. So, someone got in a car accident, or their father died, or they lost their job, and say, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And when we're willing to receive compassion from another human being, then that makes us feel better. Like, thank you for being sorry for that. When we're unwilling to receive compassion from another human being, which usually is because we don't want to be healed, we actually are using the energy of that perceived injury. We're using it for something, maybe justification or manipulation, then we won't want to receive compassion. We'll be like, well, you didn't do it. Well, I don't know why you're apologizing. You didn't do it. We'll just push away that compassion. So I'm just going to provide compassion for things that may have happened to you in your life, any point in your life, including recently, and just see if you're willing to receive it and see what it fills in for you. Does it have something disappear? Does it have something not feel like a hole or an ache in your spirit or somewhere in your body? And it's a very, very simple process. And it's also one of the things that you could post if you like, that, if Alison was going to provide noble healing for something, what do you wish she would provide it for? And we'll take that as input too when we get ready for next week. All right, so please take a deep breath and just see if you're willing to receive. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for any plan and every plan that this time in our lives, otherwise known as the coronavirus, I call it the COVID life, that this time in our lives, if there's any plan, I'm sure there are many, any plan and every plan that has been foiled, frustrated, been canceled, obliterated, eliminated, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for plans that you've had that haven't come to fulfillment. I'm so sorry for every one of you that is a parent that has a child that isn't experiencing a prom or a graduation, even a kindergarten graduation. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for the challenges that our circumstances are presenting. In most cases, they're not instead of the challenges we had before. They're on top of the challenges we had before. It wasn't like we're all sitting around eating bonbons, So I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for any sense of overwhelm you might have and everything that may seem overwhelming. I'm sorry for any loss that you're experiencing. Loss of something that was going to happen or should have happened or you were forward to happening that isn't happening now and may never happen because the time is passing. I'm so sorry for that. And I'm sorry if in your relationships something seemed like it was on track or something was going to happen or something was progressing in a certain way, that the situation we're in has interrupted it, maybe even run it right off its tracks. Like it may never be recovered. I'm so sorry if that's happened to you. And I'm sorry for any cracks, any cracks, any weaknesses, any part of your relating to other people that you thought was fine, that you thought was handled. I'm sorry for any and every crack that may be showing up as the time you're spending together or the time you're spending apart exceeds what you're used to. I'm so sorry for that. And I'm sorry for anything and everything that you need, that you're unable to get. And I mean really need, as has a big benefit for receiving it and a big cost for not. So I'm sorry for anything and everything that you need, that you've been able to get, or you've been able to get as often as you needed, or as much as you need during this period of time. I'm so sorry. And perhaps most of all, I'm sorry for those moments over the last couple months when something was abrupt or shocking, for anything and everything that may have happened that just had it feel like the foundations trembled, or the floor dropped right out, or the future just plumb disappeared. I'm so sorry for anything and everything that's been shocking to you, shocking to your plans, shocking to your future, shocking to your vision of your future. And I'm sorry for the stress that so much uncertainty creates in people's lives. I'm also not sorry because the uncertainty's already lived there. And the certainty that we have, we projected it. You might call it a hallucination. You might notice how many things you thought were guaranteed that actually didn't exist in reality. And I hope for you to take the opportunity to notice how much we think exists in the future, like everything, doesn't already exist, which means we don't have to change it, we don't have to fight against it, and we could create something. We could actually create something because there isn't anything already painted there. If nothing already exists there, what would you paint on that canvas? What will you paint on that canvas? You could start painting now. That's my invitation. All right. Thank you for being here. And you can stay on a bit and post questions, and my team will be paying attention to that. And I will be back with you next week. Big hug.